Hi, this is the Utah Defender again. I want to expose the Taylorsville's police department and the little cash cow court that they have down there. And first of all, I want to tell you that 95% of the people that I've seen in there, and I went there 4 times, are Mexican American or of Latino ancestry. 95%. Additionally, 61% of the population are Latino, Hispanic, Mexican. Great disproportion of citizens, because I'm going to tell you what they do. I grew up in East LA. I don't like the Los Angeles Sheriff Department. They actually abuse that part of the population on purpose. That's what they're doing. I wonder what the percentage of police officers are on Taylorsville Police Department. It should be proportionate to the population, which is 61% Hispanic. In the military, they have to keep a percentage, the same percentage of blacks in our population, the same percentage of officers in the military. So if it's good enough for the military to do, that police department needs to do it. So are they prejudiced? Well, we could find out by finding out how many of the officers are of Hispanic origin or Latino. So let's talk about, everybody saw it. It was a little tiny gal. She was from, I believe, Colombia. Her name was Carol. She got stopped by Sergeant Lloyd, Scott Lloyd, and he wrote her up for speeding 72 and a 55. He lied out his ass, and we have evidence of it. And yet we had 3 public defenders in that little cash cow court they have that wouldn't show the evidence. And I'm going to tell you what the evidence was. So we were upset, and we had one meeting prior with Chief Brady Cottom, who is a complete, he's an asshole, and I'll tell you why I say that. And I'm not trying to be nice, because he wasn't nice to us. And in our meeting with Chief Brady Cottom, the superlative asshole of all chiefs, he, on camera, we have him lying at his ass. He tried to tell us that the stop on Carol was not for no license plate, but for speeding. And he told us this preposterous, embellished story that the good Sergeant Scott Lloyd was driving down Bangerter, saw Carol speeding, and he pulled up next to her and he's waving his hands and arms and honking his horn and trying to get her to stop and be a good guy. Well, that's not the truth at all. And the chief lied at his ass. And he should be in the Brady book for lying. What really happened is we got the police dispatch. We grammed it, and we found out that the recording, if that would have been speeding and he was chasing her for speeding, went code 3, by Utah regulation for police officers, they have to call it in, say what direction they're going, what speed they're going, who's in the vehicle, and a description of the vehicle. He never did that because there was never anybody speeding. And we grammed the dispatch call. There was only one that day for Sergeant Scott Lloyd. And in it, he said, he calls in his number for Taylorsville. He says the direction he's going. He says the car's a new Fusion. He also says, I can't identify who's in the vehicle. I can't tell you. And the direction he was going. And that's when he was making his turn up 4700, to where Carol worked. We have Utah Cop Watch was on the corner. And then he sees him put his lights on. Was there any display that there was that was for speeding? No. And the dispatch tells you that the purpose of the stop was for no license plate. So Utah Cop Watch made a turn, went back and followed him into the parking lot where Carroll worked, and he took out his camera and started recording. What he recorded was a officer who took a woman who's like 4 feet 11, weighed less than 100 pounds, and uses excessive force twice in pushing her into the seat of her car, and rips her phone away from her twice, which is a violation of the First and Fourth Amendment. He violated her First and Fourth Amendment. And then that dumbass walks up on Jose and tries to get him out of the area and physically assaults him, bumps into him, which is on another recording. We have it on a recording. Or Utah Cop Watch has that on a recording. And walks and blocks his camera, which is censorship of the First Amendment right of freedom of press. So he violated that. Now, let me tell you what a dumbass this sergeant was that pulled over Carroll. You'd think he'd do his due diligence when he walked up the car to see if there was a paper tag in the rear window. And Utah Cop Watch, at the end of this video, actually goes over, and you can see it very clearly. You can see it just as clear as day in the rear window. And you got to remember, in the dispatch call, he says for no license plate is the reason for the stop. We don't even think that Sergeant Scott Lloyd was on duty that day. We haven't figured it out. We don't think he was. And if he wasn't, what an ass to take a lady going to work and pulling her over for no license plate when it was actually in there. So that should have stopped. That right there, all bets are off. They should have stopped pursuing and asking for her identification. But he went ahead and wanted that information from her. And he calls backup because he's a pussy. Sergeant Scott Lloyd's a pussy. And he calls backup. And I don't care if you're a bootlicker, meaning someone that loves police officers. My son's a lieutenant. And I have said in other videos, I spent 3 years in military police. And I have a criminal investigation MOS from the military. It's on my DD-214. So during the process of writing the ticket, he's so lazy, Scott Lloyd, Sergeant Lloyd, that he has a guy named Eric Rooney come up and write the ticket. And during the videoing, you can see where Eric Rooney says, well, her license, she has a temporary license right there in her window. And they point, and you can see him like, his body just kind of like collapses a little bit. And then you see what dirty cops do, which I'm alleging that Sergeant Scott Lloyd is a dirty cop, because then he goes, oh, I'll get her for speeding. You can see that. And then when Eric Rooney says, so I'm going to write her for this, this, and this, and he goes, oh, yeah, 72 and a 55. That was a blatant lie, because the dispatch proves it. And the fact that Utah Cop Watch, he never turned his lights on until he got to the intersection down there. But yet, in another video with the chief of police, Brady Cottom, who is a complete liar and asshole. Cop explains to us, we filmed it, and he's trying to tell us that Carroll was speeding down for 3 miles, and Sergeant Lloyd was waving his arms, trying to stop her like a good citizen, but yet he still went and wrote her a ticket for speeding, presumably, which never happened. She was never speeding. When we asked her in the film that we have as evidence, she's totally shocked. She goes, speeding? I wasn't speeding. So the chief, Brady Cottom, tells this concocted, embellished, unbelievable story that the stop was for speeding. He wasn't even there. But he's trying to get us, he wanted Utah Cop Watch to take down his video because he doesn't want any bad stuff said about his department. So we have that as evidence against the chief in a conspiracy with Sergeant Scott Lloyd in writing her a false speeding ticket. They knew, he went back and they talked and concocted this story of speeding to save Sergeant Scott Lloyd's ass. That's what they did. So it's all on a video. And in the video, I'm trying to defend and talk for Carol as a citizen's advocate, and he tells me I can't talk. And I tell him, you can't do that. I have every right to talk. I mean, who is this guy that thinks he's God, that he's taking away my First Amendment right to help as a citizen's advocate for her? That's how corrupt this son of a bitch is. Brady caught him. He didn't want me to defend her because he knew I was right. He didn't want me to bring these things up. He just wanted a cop-splain on there to Utah Cop Watch to take down the videos and to believe his story, which was totally a lie. Totally. And I get up, and I was sitting there, and I said, you're going to regret this. And he goes, is that a threat? This is what these guys do. So it's just like when McGuire over at Farmington said the same thing, and I said, no, it's a warning. And if you look at the difference between a threat and a warning, they're two different things. But see, I'm going to tell you, the little voice said to me, get the hell out of that room. Because when he said, is that a threat? He was going to arrest me. That's what cops do. I know it for a fact. I used to be one. They say, is that a threat? And if you say yes, boy, they put you in handcuffs. And that was what that stupid son of a bitch, Chief Brady caught him, attempted to do to me. So I left the room. And then in the video, as it goes along, he does the same thing to Utah Cop Watch. It's a great video because when you know the background, it totally exposes what a corrupt son of a bitch that Chief Brady caught him is. Lying. They were caught with their pants down in Carol's phony ticket for speeding. So when we went to court, we were there 3 times. It took the public defenders. I got to talk about them. There's one guy that doesn't see real good, and he's a savant. He's very intelligent. So we were going through. He was trying to flea bargain. I said, we're not going to flea bargain. I said, we want you to listen to this dispatch call. He listened to it. He goes, oh, why didn't he disengage? I said, that's our question. So then he goes into the court to the judge and says, I've got some extenuating circumstances on this case, and we're going to need more time. So the judge grants that. We go back a second time, and this guy ends up walking off with Chief Brady caught him into their meetings where they have their supervisor or their city council meetings. So we questioned every time that Carol showed up and we showed up, Chief Cottom's there. Now, he works in the building. That's understandable. But he goes off with the public defender and puts something in his ear. This guy was sitting there, and I said, you don't even know what's going on? I mean, we have to start from square zero again with you? You don't know anything about the case? And the other guy was there, but he wasn't doing the case for her, okay? And so we told him about the videos, and he needed to get them, and we needed to talk to him. So then there was a third meeting where he was there, and he said, look, I said, have you listened to the stuff? Have you done your due diligence? And he goes, look, I'm really overworked, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I don't really care. And as her advocate, we only care about her case. We don't care about how overworked you are. You took the responsibility to have this job, and you're supposed to defend everybody vehemently as if they were yourself. So we went back. And I got to tell you, he went and got the bailiff to have me arrested. That's how corrupt all these people in the courts are. I got to say that Christopher Brown seems like a straight shooter to me, but because he's involved with these guys, I really question if he's really a good judge. Why he hasn't quit and gone someplace else. So the bailiff comes up to me and says, oh my gosh, you're one of the nicest guys that come in here. And then he says, tell me what happened. So I told him, and then this public defender comes in and says, I was totally off. I shouldn't have said what I said. I was just angry. Please forgive me. And I said, okay, fine. What bothers me is he's a member of my church. So I hope when he answers the question, are you fair in all your dealings with your fellow man? I hope he answers that correctly, because he doesn't. He demonstrated it that day. And I want him to feel like crap if he sees this video. So there was another meeting that he had, and there was another public defender, total different from the other two, from what Utah Cop Watch told me, and they wouldn't show her evidence that of this concocted story or the radio dispatch to the judge. They railroaded her, is what they did. They told us in the meeting when I was there, oh, the judge is not going to believe your evidence. He's going to believe what the police officer says to him. I think that was a total lie and fabrication. I think that I'm alleging that Chief Cottom and the public defenders there are not for you. So if you go in there and they say, would you like a public defender? Don't do it. They'll spend 10 minutes with you in a little room in the back. They'll plea you out, and you get screwed up the ass. You need to go get your own attorney. Don't use those public defenders in Taylorsville. They're corrupt. Because I say they're corrupt because they wouldn't show the evidence whatsoever that we had that would prove that Chief Cottom was a liar and that this stop wasn't for speeding. Period. And we've got the evidence. And there's a federal lawsuit against their ass too, which I'm not involved in. So you have to know that Chief Cottom down there runs a crappy, corrupt police department. I don't think there's any Hispanics on the police department down there, but yet 61% of the city is Hispanic. 95% of the people in court are Hispanic. Most of them can't speak English. So I think that I'm alleging that the police department down there goes out and targets Hispanics and hems them up. And Chief Cottom is a liar, and Sergeant Scott Lloyd is a corrupt officer because he gave her speeding tickets to save his own ass because he went beyond. He should have disengaged when he saw that paper license plate. An apology would have been great, but no, that's the way they are. So he dives deeper into the cesspool of doing things wrong as a police officer. You in Taylorsville need to get rid of Chief Brady Cottom, especially if you find out that the percentage of Hispanic law enforcement officers doesn't match the population. That's one reason. And the other reason is he blatantly just comes out and tells a falsehood. And the other thing is the public defenders down there are corrupt. They should be disbarred for not presenting the evidence that she had of Chief Brady. I think they put pressure on the public defenders so that it would hurt the federal lawsuit that Carol had put in against Taylorsville and the chief of police and Sergeant Scott Brady. So I want to let you, Brady Cottom, know that we have an attorney who has taken on the case, and I hope they fry your ass. I hope they expose you. And the same thing for you, Sergeant Scott Lloyd. You're terrible human beings. You're not supposed to be this way with your citizens. And all that is, for you in Utah, you know, PBS did a thing on the shootings that take place in Utah. Our cops are taught wrong. In their training, when they get out of the I think it's like 3 days, they're taught, especially Salt Lake City Police Department, they're taught and they're ramped up by this instructor. I watched the video. So they're willing to pull out their weapon and shoot. That's a video you need to go find and watch. But Utah police officers are corrupt. They're no good. They're not there for the population. They're not there for people. They don't know how to give warnings. They don't know how to say, I've never met you before. I'm going to warn you now, but don't do it again. But they'll write you for everything. You spit on the sidewalk, jaywalk, step 1 foot on their grass off the sidewalk. That's what they're going to do. And you, Brady Cottam, are a terrible person. I don't know how you live with yourself. And you, Sergeant Lloyd, are despicable. You're scum. You're a piece of crap. So we have evidence, the dispatch record. We have like 4 videos and the dispatch record. And we're coming after your asses because you guys don't deserve to be out there on the streets. You're dangerous. You ruin people's lives from your actions in these videos. You can't tell the truth, and you're corrupt. And people of Taylorsville, you need to get together and get rid of the chief and get rid of the sergeant and make sure that more Hispanic people are put on the police department. And get rid of your all your city councilmen and your manager of your city because they know this. And I would say they're prejudiced because they've known this for a long time. But yet they close their eyes. They don't want to get involved. They don't want any problems. Well, I hope that Utah Copwood Watch sues the living hell out of the Taylorville's police department in the city because you people are corrupt. You're really corrupt. And all this is alleged until the facts come out in the federal court. They're scums. And I saw everything I'm talking to you about. So I know it's there. I know the evidence is there. I know their conduct. And I got to tell you, when they came in, the look on Chief Brady Cottam's face was very serious when he had to sign for the stuff we had. And then they played games with us about the evidence. They wouldn't sign it. It had to be delivered to their attorneys when they were right there and they could have taken it. But when Sergeant Lloyd, Scott Lloyd, and I don't want this to be unsaid, he thought it was a joke, that he's Mr. Tough Guy and that it's not going to bother him. We'll see. And I hope you people in Taylorsville start wising up and saying, you know what? Let's go down to the courthouse and see how many Mexican or Hispanic Latinos are in that court. And my family's like yours. I have, my mother, again, is Mexican. My grandfather's from Mexico. And I think they're prejudiced there. And I have the right to say that. I have the right to say everything I said as freedom of speech, as being a representative of the press. So I hope you see this, Chief Cottam, because you're a piece of crap, and so is Sergeant Lloyd. And you mistreat the citizens of Taylorsville. And I hope you get sued right up the ass. Have a good one.